I'm here talking to Karl Sanders, the mastermind of Nile. So thank you very much for doing this interview, Karl. How's it going?
I guess it's going okay. How are you today?
I'm great, thank you. So Nile's about to release a new album, The Underworld Awaits Us All. It's a great title. It's going to be out on August 23rd. So it's your 10th album, right? And this one will be out via Napalm Records. You're with a new record company now, right? So it strikes me as an album that has songs that kind of less is more. There's still a lot of stuff there that is virtuosistic, but it strikes me as a little more concise than previous albums.
I would call that a good word. Concise, streamlined, uh, less extraneous elements. It's metal and like very metal, and it doesn't go too experimental anywhere. It's right to the point.
Yeah, and was that a conscious decision or did you just come along the way as the songs were being written?
I think as the songs were being written, we realized, what these songs needed, and that's just kind of the way they were written and conceived, and they worked out. So it was, I guess, conscious, but in a way, that's just the way it was. The sun came up on that side of the planet.
That's great. So let's talk about one of the songs on this album. It's called Chapter for Not Being Hung Upside Down on a Stake and Made to Eat Feces by the Four Apes. So that's a metal title right there. Nothing.
Yeah, and you said it great.
Oh,
You
dear.
said it great. I love it. It's the best part of the day when people have fun and they say that title. You just made my day.
Yeah, that's a great song. So I understand you were going through the Book of the Dead. So tell me the how that song came into being.
There's a bookshelf. You can't see it because it's off camera, but it's right over there. And usually when I go, okay, it's time to write a Nile song, what am I going to write about? I go pick a book off the shelf, and I open it, and whatever page I open it to, that's the song. This doesn't always work, though. Most of the time when I do this, there's nothing there to write a song about. But when it does work, it's friggin' magic. Like, I saw that title, because that's like a direct lift from one of the titles, chapter 181 of the Book of the Dead. So I saw this title, and I was like, how is this not a metal song? That's a metal song. Someone's just waiting to write it.
Yeah, now it's written brilliantly, so I shall add. So this brings me to your writing process. So with such elaborate lyrics, what comes first, the words or the music, or it depends? How is it? How does it happen?
Usually with us, it's the lyrics come first, and the lyrics kind of become a blueprint or a roadmap for how the song gets written. Because every set of words is a little different. So that means that if we're following the words, then the music can go, wherever it needs to. It feels very unrestricted and liberating to me to work that way.
So under the curse of the one God, this is a long question, so get ready for it. It could be interpreted in many ways. So the first thing that came to my mind, knowing Egyptian history, not as well as you, but a little bit, I thought of Aten and Akhenaten, and it's not explicitly named in the song, but I thought of that right away. But I also thought myself of the song as a criticism for religions as a whole. Because, nowadays everyone's monotheistic. All the main religions in the world are monotheistic. So I thought, is this like a way of criticizing not only the religions that exist nowadays, but the way that the people that are religious try to impose that on other people? So what can you tell us about this song? Because I just did a crazy read of the song here.
I don't think it's a crazy read. I think you're right on point. I don't know if I'd use the word criticize, though. I would like to think of it more like I'm just pointing something out, going, hey, this is not the only way that things have been done. There are different ways of doing it, and you can't tell me where to go to church, and you can't tell me who to vote for. It can't be done. Uh, so that's kind of what I'm saying, like, in the broader sense. In the specifics, the part of Egyptian history that I'm referencing is the Islamic conquest of Egypt in 673, 643, 673, I can't remember. 639. There we go. 639.
Back then, there were already a lot of Christians in Egypt, weren't there?
Yes, there
Or
were.
not? I think there were, maybe. I don't know.
No, the Coptic Christians.
Yes.
This was the time period. But not everybody was a Coptic Christian, and you didn't have to be. It wasn't submit, die, or pay the jizya tax. You had some choices.
I understand. I understand. Point taken.
Right? Yeah. So, in the song, we're kind of invoking ancient Egyptian curses because hated conquerors have imposed their way of life. Yeah, so we're fighting back with ancient Egyptian curses.
That's very interesting, by the way. The problem is maybe they won't understand, but if the curses work, then hey, I'm all.
If the curse works, then it's real. Like, we've heard talk of the mummy's curse, right? You open the tomb, breathe the air, and, everyone who went in there eventually dies because of the mummy's curse. And they found out years later that there's bacteria in these ancient tombs that's thousands of years old. So when the tombs are unsealed, if you're not, careful and you breathe this stuff in, well, duh, it's bacteria that's thousands of years old. How many generations of bacteria, in 4,000 years? Well, I don't know, probably a lot. So it's probably not too good to be breathing this stuff in. So if I think about that, right, it's not actually a mummy's curse, right, because now we scientifically understand how it works. But is there a practical difference, right? If you still go in the tomb you're not supposed to, and you breathe in the infectious air, and you get sick and you die, we understand that it's science, but how is it not still a curse? It doesn't matter if we understand how or why. If it acts like a curse, it is a curse.
It makes total sense. It's a great way of thinking of things. So there's more Egyptian stuff. Well, your band's called Nile. It's gonna be more Egyptian stuff. So the Nakada 2. When I saw this song title, I was like, oh my God, Nakada 2, Enter the Golden Age. So this song brings forth the pre-dynastic period, right, of Egypt. So how strong is the influence in your lyrical themes of this more mysterious area of Egypt? Because it's like prehistory, so there's nothing written. Is the mysterious thing a thing there?
Yes. If there's less written about that time period, then there's correspondingly more artistic license to you do whatever you need to do with the song to make it a metal song. So metal, we're not necessarily presenting a balanced perspective of history. We're picking out all the stuff that makes good metal songs. It's not exactly the same thing. It's kind of the same thing, but you have to take it with a grain of salt because, well, these are metal songs. We're not writing history books. This is not a historical preservation society. We're not preserving ancient pottery here. For the, educational purposes, we're making metal albums.
And where did this love for ancient Egypt come from? Was it because of the band, or the band? What came first, the egg or the chicken?
It is a little bit of both because I had always had an interest from the time I was a little kid. But when I found myself in a band called Nile, and I went, okay, now we got to write some songs. What are we going to write songs about? What should a band, like Nile be playing? If I were a listener, what would I expect to hear from a band called Nile? So it is a chicken and the egg thing. Which came first? Because the more that I had to, learn to write songs, the more I enjoyed it, and it fed itself like an endless circle of, okay, this is fun. I'm enjoying this. Okay.
So, what about going to Egypt? I did some research for this interview, of course, and I heard that you visited Egypt and you went to see the pyramids. So, I have a very specific question for you that relates to this less known history of Egypt. So, did you visit the Fifth Dynasty pyramids, those at Abu Sir?
I did go to Abu Sir.
You did.
Yes, I did.
Ah, yeah. So did you look into the less known? That's the thing, right? The less touristy stuff. Because, I found also during this research, and I don't know if you read this too, a 2024 article in a paper, a science paper of archaeology, whatever. And they found that there is a branch of the Nile that is now dry and that went through all the pyramids of the old kingdom. And so if you could have a hint of, did you have a hint of that when you went there? And how was that visit to Abu Sir? Because it's a new thing that's coming out now, science.
It is. And they're actually saying that they think that the river channel that used to go there was part of how they hydraulically were able to raise the pyramid stones, and they used hydraulics. Wow, okay. That's been in the news like a lot the last couple of weeks. At Abu Sir, they found some secret underground chambers right there at those. We were right there at the ruined pyramids. There's three of them, and they're all broken down and rubble. There's barely anything left of them, so they're cool as fuck. And there's like a temple area near there, and all that shit's broken down too. It's got a vibe to it when you go. It's very much, you feel the sense that this was a ritualistic kind of place. Like they were doing something there. Who knows what? I don't know. It's fun to imagine what they were doing, but the fact they found more stuff there, underground stuff. I was right there, right? And you could feel the vibe. And they found more stuff there. That's like fascinating to me because I was right there, right? It was one of the coolest places ever. I was here. It's way more fun than the Great Pyramids. Although the Great Pyramids are great for their own fucking reasons. But like for a person who writes songs about the dusty, decrepit, arcane parts of Egyptology, broken down pyramids in ruins,
Yeah.
that just strikes a chord.
It's very interesting thinking of Nile's music as the diggers, like you guys are the diggers for the mysterious in the sense of Egypt, you go and you dig. I don't know. I didn't look at all the lyrics because, I'm not a native English speaker, so I don't necessarily understand everything when it's in harsh vocals, right?
Right.
When it's clean vocals, I understand, but when it's harsh vocals, I have to look for it. So I couldn't go through the whole discography. But do you guys have ever write anything about Fayum and that intermediate period? That's that stuff, or is it yet to come? Yet to
Yet to
come.
come.
Okay.
Yet to come. The intermediate periods are cool too because it's like between
Yeah.
the centralized power of the pharaohs. The intermediary periods when all the chaos shit happened
Hmm.
and that didn't get written down. There's probably a lot of good songs in there.
Yeah, there was even cannibalism from what I've read in terms of history, and I think
Hmm.
death metal songs about that would be cool. But that's just me.
Age of
But
Famine on
yeah,
What Should Not Be on Earth is about the period of famine and cannibalism after the fourth dynasty, in between then and the fifth, when there was a huge disruption in life in Egypt.
yeah. So
Famine, cannibalism, disease,
yeah, these are
chaos.
yeah. Chaos is I think what death metal describes best is entropy, right? So I have one more big question, like ancient Egyptian culture, at least what has survived of it, has a fixation on death. Not only because the monuments that are all tombs, right? But all the writings that have been found. It's Book of the Dead and all these things and incantations and things about the afterlife. So was that part of why you Nile is about ancient Egypt and why it's
Well,
a fascination
it
there.
does seem like a really obvious connection, right? We're
Yeah,
playing death metal, so, we're found a culture where the things that remain from it, right? Because if you're digging around in tombs,
yeah,
you're going to find some funeral kind of stuff, right?
exactly.
That's the stuff you're going to find.
Exactly.
You're right. If you're digging around in a tomb, you're not going to find somebody's DVD copy of Tropic Thunder. You're going to find some stuff about dead people.
Yeah, no, but there's other cultures where we find artifacts that are not necessarily all about death, and Egypt seems to be all about death. That's my point.
There was an album by a band, it's a Dutch band called Gorefest. It was called Faults. And one of the things that I loved about this record, it came out in early 90s, was its philosophy. It was a death metal album, but what they seemed to be saying with their songs were, you are going to die. We're all going to die. So while you're still alive, do something. And I was like, okay, all right. So, it's not too far of a stretch to imagine that if the Egyptians were saying something very similar, yeah, we're all going to die and all this stuff's going to happen when you die, they're really saying what time you have alive is precious. Cherish it. Do something good.
Simple and easy question now at the end. The album comes out in late August, and do you have a tour scheduled already?
Many tours. In September, we're going to Europe. We'll do all month. Then after that, we go to Japan and Australia, New Zealand, Thailand, a bunch of other places over there. And then in the States, we're going to go out in January and February with 6 Feet Under.
Oh, that's fantastic. So thank you
Yep.
very much, Carl, for talking to Chaoszine.
It was a lot of fun.
I wish you all the best.
Thank you so much. Have a great day.